Hey everybody, Misty Williams here with Healing Rosie, and I am really excited about the conversation I'm about to have with Razi Berry. When I heard about her project, I cleared the calendar, made some space because what she's doing right now to support all of us in truly healing is so utterly important. She's having a conversation that in my opinion is probably the most important conversation we can have when we're talking about healing from things that have been chronic in our lives. And many of you know my story. You know my background and where I've come from, and the struggles that I've had getting well. And there's a part of my story that I've been talking about a lot lately that we're going to talk about today with Razi, because I'm not the only one. It's you too. And it's your sisters, and it's your mamas, and it's your daughters. You know, it's all of us. So welcome, Razi.
Thank you, Misty. It's great to be here, and hello to everyone out there.
Yes, hello to everyone. Well, I'm very excited about your project. So, I would love for you just to kind of offer us a frame. You were telling me a little bit about what birthed this movement, I want to call it, that you're spearheading with the work that you've been doing over the last 15 years or so. Why don't you give us some background here?
Well, my real career is as a publisher. I published two naturopathic medicine journals. One I founded in 2005. It's called Naturopathic Doctor News and Review. And the other I acquired in 2010, which is the International Journal of Naturopathic Medicine. That's a peer-reviewed academic journal. The first one, NDNR, is a case study format that doctors from all around North America, naturopathic doctors, and the globe really share cases. So I published the cases. And over the last 15 years of reading thousands of cases, plus through my own journey, through my own health challenges, and also I was at one time married to a naturopathic doctor for 14 years. So being immersed in this idea of looking at the body with a vital force, meaning that healing happens from inside. Your body has an innate, intelligent ability to heal, aside from conventional medicine, who feels like there's something we do to the body to heal it. In reality, we support the vital force so the body can heal itself. So in looking at all these studies, I saw these patterns, Misty, of why people got sick. And an overwhelming majority of the time, there was some sort of disconnection in their lives from three areas that I now call sources of love. That's why I call it love is medicine. So there's a disconnection from nature, and we can talk more about that. But basically, it's because, we were designed, built, whatever your philosophy is, to live on this earth that gives us everything we need to thrive. And we've separated ourselves from that. We are indoors all the time. We're in a constant temperature. Temperature is very important for hormone synthesis and uptake and regulation. We don't have those natural rhythms in the day. We don't get the daily changes in sunlight. We don't get the biofield from the earth. So those are just some examples of ways that we've been disconnected. So our body isn't constantly getting that information and kind of feedback loop from our environment. Then we also disconnect from each other. Technology and commerce, even from the industrial age, we've moved away from families and groups living together. People don't sit down and have tea in the afternoon together. We're just so busy and so rushed, but there are so many ways. And if there's time, we can go into the science, that things like hearing your own name, gazing directly into someone's eye, like in live time, or just being touched, like while speaking, these all not only help balance our hormones, but they also increase functional activity in our brain and self-awareness. So there's a lot of science of why being in real time, in real life, 3D, with other human beings is so important to our health, aside from things like loneliness and things that have been talked about so much, about loneliness being so and isolation so bad for our physiology. And then there's disconnection from the self. We have really, Misty, lost our intuition. We've outsourced our intuition to Google, to gurus, to best-selling books, programs. I mean, all of those have great information, but what we don't have anymore is this real keen, strong sense, intuitive sensibility, where we make decisions for ourselves. We're taught from the time that we're children, especially women, to not trust our own bodies, to not trust our own ideas and our own thoughts. Whatever our body says to us, we disregard it. I know this is part of your story too, right? When doctors, you were in just terrible pain and you knew something was wrong. You knew something was wrong, and doctor after doctor, instead of really digging into it, they just looked at a piece of paper and said, these numbers look fine.
Everything's, yeah,
Everything's fine.
right.
So all of us are intuitive. This is not woo-woo. This is not psychic ability. This is not like blasphemy. I've been researching physiology of intuition, that it is a part of our physiology, just like other types of cognition are.
Mhm.
And we've just lost it the way any muscle, like if you have a cast on your leg for a while and you take it off, that muscle is atrophied because you haven't been using it. And that's what's been happening for the last few generations. So the Love is Medicine project is really this journey to get back to those three sources of vitality, of love, of connection. And that's why I called it Love is Medicine.
So I'm getting so many chills as you're talking, because I just had an experience that was really profound with a couple of my friends. And this is, I think, really going to drive home the point that you're making here about how disconnected we've become and where it starts. So one of my girlfriends has two daughters. They're 5 and 7. And I've been watching her parent. And she's a remarkable parent. And I think that a lot of people might look at how she parents and think that she's maybe spoiling her girls. But I actually think she's teaching her girls that what they feel and what they're intuiting in the world is okay. And she's creating space for it. So she has this little girl named Evie, who is, she experiences emotions that are way bigger than her body. That's how I would explain it. Like everything is big. So when she sees you and she's excited, it's like, ah, and she throws herself at you and she's just so overcome with love. And then whenever she's overwhelmed and upset or feeling things that are confusing, she just has these outbursts of, ah, and I watch how Grace handles her daughters. And basically what she does is she acknowledges what they're feeling. If Evie's having what we would call a temper tantrum. Now, the way I was raised, you get those kids under control and you get them to shut up, and you basically cut them off from whatever they're feeling. They need to rise above the emotion and get control and shut up, right? Mm-hmm. With Evie, she just lets her have her experience. So she'll acknowledge it. Oh, Evie, it looks like you're feeling really overwhelmed, or I see that you're angry. And she just really lets her run that experience, whatever it is. And then if she's not in a position where she can actually be a container for the experience, she'll say that, Evie, I wish mommy feels really overwhelmed. And what you're doing right now is making me feel even more overwhelmed, and I'm not sure what to do with it. So I need to let you sit here and have this experience, and I'm going to go to my room, or whatever. But it's just amazing to me how she's teaching both of her girls that whatever they're feeling and experiencing is okay. And that's in such contrast to what I know I experienced. So I think this starts for us very young, when we need to adapt whatever we're feeling intuitively inside to the expectations of our parents. And then we need to adapt whatever we're feeling inside to the expectations of our teachers and, the structure of school. And then we need to adapt as we get older to whatever our boyfriends want and whatever other people are telling us, because we really want love. And we're taught all the time to adapt and basically give our power away to other people in order to get our needs met. And what ultimately is happening for us is we're not getting our needs met. And in fact, it's creating in us this unbelievable disconnection from our own intuition. We get to the point where we don't trust it anymore because everyone's told us our entire lives that what we're feeling is wrong, that what we're doing is wrong. So like, surely whatever that thing is inside that we're feeling isn't right and can't be trusted. When doctors tell us that maybe this is just in our head, we start to think maybe I'm just crazy instead of really trusting that thing inside. So this is very, very pervasive. And I'm sure everyone watching can find an experience that they've had that relates to this.
Yes. And in fact, one of my favorite little exercises to do, if you feel like you've just not been listening to your intuition, or if you're like, hey, I know I'm intuitive, I feel it all the time, is this exercise where you start a notebook of every time you say something like this to yourself. I knew it. I knew I should have blank, or I knew I shouldn't have blank.
Yeah.
And those are thoughts that we get in our head whenever we choose not to follow our intuition. I knew I shouldn't have done that business deal. I knew I shouldn't have taken that road. That the Uber driver wanted to go this way. I knew we should have gone that way.
Yeah.
Or I knew I shouldn't have gone on another date with that guy. Or I should have taken that opportunity. I knew I should have told my phone call. I'll call them back. Whatever it is, you start writing those situations down. And then what happens is you create this body of evidence. It sounds like it might be negative, right? These are all the times you messed it up, you didn't follow your intuition. But what it does is creates this body of intuition of how intuitive you really are. And it shows you how you've not been paying attention. So it's a very simple exercise. But pretty soon you have this notebook filled of all the times that your body mind was communicating to you exactly what you needed and you disregarded it.
Yeah. It's amazing how we do that. I was fascinated by what you were saying right before we started this interview about what happens to animals when they're disconnected from their natural habitats. I'd love for you to tell us that.
Yes. So I call this losing our wild. So we are born into a natural habitat that has the rising and setting of the sun. It has changes in temperature throughout the day that we think of in terms of whether I'm comfortable or not, but there's actually effects that those temperature changes have on growth, metabolism, hormone production, and things like that. We are not in the Earth's biofield anymore. We're not barefoot or sleeping on the earth, so we're not taking in all of those negative electrons that act like antioxidants to the body. We're not taking in through chemo signaling information in our environment that gives our body information. We can go a little bit more into chemo signaling. So we're totally separated from that, and we're not eating food like that comes right from our immediate environment. So I think of it as when an animal is taken out of its wild habitat, its natural habitat, and it's put in a zoo or like a factory farm, what happens to it? It becomes weak. It has wrong body composition. It's no longer able to easily reproduce. It lives a shorter lifespan, and it loses its instinct. This is what we've been doing to ourselves for a few generations now. Now, of course, I'm not saying that we can all just like move out of our homes and live in a yurt somewhere, but we really, yeah, right, we some commune, but we really need to be mindful. I mean, one of the things that I teach people to do is do an anti-cigarette break. People that are smokers go outside and breathe unhealthy chemicals, but no one goes outside and says, oh, I just need a 15-minute break to just breathe in the air. Guess what? The air is not just oxygen. There's a lot of other things in the air that are important to just every aspect of our body: detoxification, lymphatic flow, to get some of that temperature change of whatever season or time of the day it is, so your body's natural rhythms. So it's a problem. It's a problem. And we're not looking at these simple answers. We're instead looking at what's the next hack. What's the next way we're going to hack our biology? What's the next pill that we're going to take, or how are we going to manipulate the microbiome? I really believe that the microbiome is meant to change no matter what you're eating, where you're living, where you go outside. I kind of think it's dangerous to say like these specific bacteria should be in this level. It's just a green allopathy, right? We need to just accept the love around us in the earth. The earth is giving us love through the sunlight, through the information, through the food that comes from the earth, through the animals that eat the food that comes from the earth, through just everything around us. And guess what? There's stuff we don't even know. There are things to yet be discovered, and there'll be things that aren't discovered in our lifetimes that someone else will be doing interviews about this. And so I'm a journal publisher. Science is important, but we are getting sicker. Where cancer rates are not declining. They're not. Autoimmune disease rates are not declining. They're not. So when are we going to just get real, get back to who we are with being human?
Yeah. This is such an important message, and I'm very excited to help you spread the word
Thank you,
about
Miss.
this project. And I really hope that all the women who are listening to this right now would just take this opportunity to do a gut check and just consider how you might be disconnected from your own intuition, and you might be disconnected from the love and connection you need, and how that might be affecting your own health journey. I've actually shared my story a couple times lately of really the last probably 4 years working on this, what I came to realize as an issue that I have, with being a good receiver. I've always been a great giver of love and support, but I'm haven't always been good at receiving it from other people. And looking back, I see through my 30s where this kind of like superwoman persona that I didn't even consciously take on. I think it was something that I picked up in childhood. I remember my mom, when I was around 7 years old, she was really frustrated with her relationship with my father. And she would say things to me like, Misty, you're going to grow up, you're going to college, you're going to be independent, and you're not depending on a man. And as a 7 year old, I was just like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So I've always been really uber independent. And I've always been someone that felt like my worth and my value was in how I show up for other people. And the universe really kind of turned that on its ear. And I started being challenged in my late 30s, coming into my 40s, to consider, that maybe part of the problems that I was having and the challenges I was experiencing was because I was so cut off from allowing others to give to me and others to nourish me. I had a really hard time acknowledging that I needed help or support. To me, it felt like weakness, and I'm sure that comes from a lot of childhood programming too. And now I'm in this beautiful phase in my life where I'm in this unbelievable relationship that I feel so content and interdependent in, that having big experiences on my own, which is, I thrived on that for a good part of my life, is a lot less appealing to me, because there's just something beautiful about opening and having like this flow of reciprocity in your
Yes.
life. And I can feel the change that it's made for me. I can feel the reduction in my own stress levels, and we talk about that a lot, like reduce your stress. And how do you reduce your stress when you've created a life for yourself where your needs are invisible and everyone around you is more important? I see a lot of my sisters in this position.
Yes. And you have a body filled with all types of sensory receptors because you are meant to receive. Receptor comes from receive. You're meant to take in the gaze of another person. You're meant to take in the scent of another person. You're meant to be touched by another person. These are things that are vital to who we are. It's like, like form follows function, right? We How something is built, the shape of something, is because of what it's supposed to do. And our bodies, yeah, we have hands to give and voices to speak and feet to walk towards and do things, but we have all these sensory receptors that mean we're supposed to receive. And
Yeah.
I something that it's on my heart to say to you right now is that, for a long time, because I've been like you and I'm still like you, and for a long time, people like us were called codependent, like there's something we were doing wrong. And I like some of the newer psychology that's coming out and some of the more progressive thinkers in the field of relationship health. It's like, what, guess what? It's kind of an overused term. What this is people who have a natural desire and inclination to connect, but we get into relationships with people that don't have the same tools or emotional EQ, emotional quotient, they're not as emotionally secure, or they aren't able to attach as securely. And so when we find ourselves in these relationships where we have healthy expectations, you should have expectations for your partner to join in this kind of union with you together where you're each giving and receiving. And when women like us get in a situation where we're just giving, giving, giving and not receiving, we're somehow told that we're broken. And you probably see that you're not. You just weren't maybe in situations where somebody was being generous and helping you to receive.
Yeah. And I think that part of it is just believing that you're worthy of that.
Yes.
Whenever I look back, I can see that I I would feel at a subtle level like I was, if I needed something from someone else, like suddenly I wasn't doing my duty and showing up in the world like I was supposed to. You know,
Yeah.
there was this subtle shame and unworthiness
Yeah.
that came from that for me. And, you know, I had a lot of deep work to do around this. In fact, I remember Brene Brown talking one time about how if you are the person that's always the giver and you're not able to receive from other people because of those subtle judgments, that that's actually polluting your give because you're projecting a little bit of that onto the person that's
Mm-hmm.
receiving from you.
Yeah.
Like your give isn't as pure and wonderful and generous as you'd like to think it is, because it's projecting a lot of that unworthiness out, even at a subtle level, because it's a reflection of what's inside of you.
Yes.
And that was really profound for me. You know, a lot of Brene Brown's work actually was a catalyst for me taking a look at myself in a different way. I love her TED
Yeah.
talk around vulnerability. Like, you know, so many of us have
Yes.
seen that talk now, and it kind of catalyzed this. Wow, I create this space for other people to be vulnerable, but I'm never vulnerable. Like just this acknowledgement that, man, what is that? You know, why can't I be vulnerable? And, you know, then you dive into the Pandora's box and
Yeah.
5 years of work go by as
Right.
you begin unpacking all the layers.
Yes.
So
And
yeah.
we learn, we learn in practice, right? We like when we learn how to walk, it's not because our parents said, like, okay, put all your weight on your right foot. Now lean
Mhm.
forward, bend your left knee. Now lean forward a little bit more, let go of
Right.
the weight, transfer your weight. Like it's not like that. It's like
Right.
you watch how the people around you, you watch your parents walk. And when we practice receiving, we help teach people how to give to us. And
Yeah.
we teach ourselves. It's just like like there's rat studies, all sorts of studies that mothering, like the act of like nurturing as a mother actually happens. You learn by doing. And then the more that rat mother does, then those pups grow up to be more tender and like attentive
Yeah.
rat mothers.
Right.
It's we just get so stuck in our heads and so stuck in what the research says instead of really getting back into our bodies, not living so much in our heads. Because women like us, when we don't receive, we're not really living in our whole body. We're kind of living in our head and making this decision that like I must give, I need these people to love me by giving to them. And we're not really fully, because all of these sensory receptors that we have that tell us to receive, and then what happens, we don't listen to those, and so our body is not going to give up on communicating what we need. So then it shows up like inflammation, it shows up like an autoimmune disease, it shows up as just thyroid or any kind of problem, because these systems just need the feedback of
Yeah.
each other and of nature. And if we don't
Yeah.
listen, then our body's going to just start screaming.
Right. Well, I hope all of you will sign up for the Love is Medicine project that Razi is putting on for all of us, and take advantage of the opportunity to really learn more about this and learn more about things that you can do to maybe create some deep and profound shifts in your own healing journey. You want to tell us a little bit more about the Love is Medicine
I would
project?
love to. So I've put on some summits before, and usually a summit is on a certain topic and it gives you exactly right what to do. This is a 7-day, 7-part docu-series beginning September 16th. So the first one airs at 6 p.m. Pacific, September 16th. And it is a journey towards some of these topics we're talking about, a journey of self-healing through, just discovering how to start listening within, how to start following our own intuition, to make choices for ourselves and with each other based in love. So it's really inspirational with some practices from, experts all around that are sharing how they bring this love into their lives. And instead of telling anyone a specific way to live or eat or heal a specific problem, it's more of kind of the overarching what we're talking about, these areas of our lives that we need to reconnect back into. And so I'm hoping that people will leave with a lot of self-reflection, desire to take care of themselves, and to just practice love as medicine in action.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, if you're watching this on Facebook, you'll see a link to go sign up in the status. And of course, if you're seeing it on YouTube, you can look down in the description. And yeah, go sign up and experience this unbelievable work that Razi's been doing, taking all of us along on a really, really important journey that's a deep dimension of our own healing that a lot of times we don't create the space to look at. So thank you so much, sister. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Misty. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate you.
All right. We'll see you guys later.